Hey guys, it's Kale Brock here. Today I'm going to show you how to install the Ocean Guardian Freedom Plus surf tail pad and antenna. Follow along. I've got a relatively new 6.6 mid-length here that we're going to deck out in the Freedom Plus, and I've got the over 6.6 set up here, which is really important because that's going to be appropriate size-wise. So if you open the box, we've got the antenna itself connected to the battery tail pad kicker, and we've got the actual traction here. So it's a pretty simple setup. Let's get into it. One thing that's really important when you're putting on a tail pad or the Freedom Plus is to clean the surface of your board. So I just took some IPA and just ran it over the board here, wherever the Freedom Plus is going to be adhering to the board. So that means on the bottom, around the rail, and of course in the tail pad area as well. Okay, so to start off with, we're going to consider the most important placement of the antenna, and that's this little arm here. We actually want it to be about an inch north of the right fin box if we're looking at it from the tail up to the nose and underneath the board. So we're looking at that right fin box, and we're trying to make sure that that arm is going to actually just sit about there, and that's so that we can ensure that it reaches the tail pad once we flip it over. So once I'm happy with that position, I can sort of see that it's actually sitting around this little kale. I'm going to take the first step, which is adhering this lower part of the antenna here. So I'm going to take off the adhesive cover underneath. Some people even like to put a little pencil mark or something so that they don't lose their position during this moment here. We're going to take that off, and then I'm going to again just make sure that I'm nice and close here. Yep, so that arm's going to sit nicely, and then I'm just going to make sure that it's nice and even and it lines up with the stringer of the board. So I'll just create a little tag there, and I'm going to triple check that that arm's sitting about an inch north of the fins, which it is, and then I'm going to run my hand over this as I adhere it down. And so that gives us a nice sort of anchor point to set everything up. I like to use a cloth or a glasses cleaner, whatever you've sort of got access to. If you're wearing a hoodie, you can just use this sleeve just to make sure everything's pinned down really nicely. And of course, with a clean deck of the board, everything should be pretty sweet. Now the next part of the install, we're going to actually run up the antenna here to the other node. So we're going to run this arm all the way up the stringer so it's nice and smooth. So the easiest way to do that is to actually peel off the adhesive cover there, and then I'm going to keep tension. I'm going to keep tension on that, and as I pull it tight, I'm able to sort of make sure that it runs along the stringer. And so we've got a nice smooth adherence there. And then I'm going to peel off this last section. And same thing there. I'm just going to get it nice and straight. And I'm just going to get out the cloth. Quick once over. Okay, next I'm going to put this little arm on. This is going to help us connect to the tail pad over the other side of the board. So I'm going to pull off that cover there, and then I'm going to create some tension. I'm just going to pull on the bend here and then just run my finger along all the way to the rail, And then I'm going to do the same over the rail. So we're flipping the board now, and there'll naturally be like a slight change in direction here because of the shape of the rail. So the band is actually gonna, or the antenna is actually gonna start tracking north a little bit. So as we flip the board over, that is gonna have like a slight upward direction. But because we've got the elbow here, that's actually going to redirect it back to the tail pad. So that's the elbow piece that we're going to then sort of work around. And it's important just to get that last part nice and flat. And then we're going to pause for a second, and we're going to come to the kicker now. Thankfully, Ocean Guardian have put in like a little block here, a little tail block, just to keep everything nice and solid when the power module is not actually in the board. That also makes the power module transferable between setups, which is really handy. So the next thing we're going to do is put on the kicker just in front of the leash plug there. So about 1 to 2 inches or 5 centimeters in front of it, so that you've still got room for your fingers to get in there and do up strings and take them out as you need to. I'm happy with that. I'm going to take off the bottom adhesives here. So that's all ready to go. And once I've placed that, I'm just going to take a really important step and take out the block and just really give this a good press down just to make sure that it's stuck on properly and has got a good grip. So now we got a really good base to work from, and essentially all we need to do is adhere this and create a fold that's going to hide beneath the tail pad, the rest of the tail pad. Obviously this occurs because we have different sized surfboards, and the Freedom Plus has been designed to fit a wide variety of those. So that's not actually going to affect the performance at all. So we're going to pull this off. So we're going to have these guys meet up, and we're going to create a bit of a fold wherever it happens to be. And that's going to be covered with the tail pad. So we don't actually need to worry, and it's not going to impact the current or the connection at all. So now that we've got that there, all we have to do is put on the rest of the tail pad, which I'm sure you guys have done before. And once you're all sorted, it's really important to leave everything for 24 hours to really set, because that's when you will have a tail pad that lasts. Now that we've waited 24 hours for it to cure, we can put in the charged power module in place, press it down firmly, and all we have to do to secure it is to use the hex key to actually screw it down. And it's important, in order for this to work, that these little spaces under here look like little cogs are at the top of the screw, or as high as they can go. And there'll just be a little moment where it becomes a little bit more firm at the bottom. And that's when you know you've tightened it enough. So that's all ready to go. And then go for a shred.